Are you looking to grow in your Catholic faith during Lent? Hi, I'm Christy with Homeschooling in Progress, and in this video I'm going to share some ideas to help you do just that. Now, Lent, if you're not familiar, is the liturgical season of the church year that begins on Ash Wednesday and lasts 40 days through up until Holy Thursday. Holy Thursday, Good Friday, and Holy Saturday are actually a 3-day liturgical season. So Lent starts or ends just right before that. Now, Lent is known for 3 main pillars, and those are prayer, fasting, and almsgiving. And so I'm going to give you some ideas on ways that you can use those 3 pillars to help yourself grow in your Catholic faith during Lent. So the first one is prayer. And with prayer, that can mean prayer that you do on your own. It could be prayer that you do with your family. It could be prayer that you do at church. So there are some different ways that you can incorporate prayer time. One way might be to, have some more individual prayer time. Perhaps even reading some books that will help you with your prayer life. And so that's a really great way to grow in your Catholic faith through getting a closer relationship with Jesus through prayer. And so, maybe you wake up early, maybe you stay up late, or maybe you use nap time, or, right after the kids go to bed, just sometime during the day, your drive to work, just sometime during your day to add in some extra prayer. Perhaps you do that prayer in the form of a rosary. That's one of my favorite ways to pray. And so you can do that on your own. You can do that with your children. You could go out for a walk and do the rosary during a walk. And then also, a lot of times during Lent, your church might have prayer services or some different information on, just some different programs that they have that will give you some more information about growing in your faith. And so prayer is a wonderful way to grow in your Catholic faith during Lent. Fasting is another way to do that. Now, there are 2 days a year that Catholics are required to fast. If you are from the ages of 18 to 59 and are healthy. Obviously, if you have some other health issues, that doesn't really come into play. Pregnant women shouldn't fast. So, you kind of have to know yourself and your situation for that. But for most healthy Catholics, we fast on Ash Wednesday and on Good Friday. And that simply means that you have 2 smaller meals and 1 regular meal. And those also are going to be meatless because we abstain from meat on Ash Wednesday and all of the Fridays of Lent. And so that's just another way. It's a good way to, make that sacrifice to, kind of recognize that ultimate sacrifice that Jesus made for us. And so that's one way of fasting throughout Lent. Another way might be, maybe you've heard of people giving things up for Lent. That's another way that you can fast, another way of sacrifice. And it might be food that you give up. If you really love chocolate, maybe you give up chocolates that throughout Lent, as you're thinking about chocolate, you're remembering that sacrifice and you're remembering that you're trying to grow in your faith. And so, use that as a time for prayer or a time for, to do something else good and in a way to grow in your faith. Also with fasting, if you don't have to give up food, you could give up something else. Perhaps you give up TV, or you give up Facebook, or you, give up complaining, or give up, just some different things that are keeping you from growing in your faith. A lot of times, I don't really like to give up food. For Lent, I usually try to give up things that are keeping me from a stronger relationship with God. And so a lot of times I'll think about the things that I have come up a lot in confession. And so I realize those are things I need to work on, because obviously if I'm confessing about them a lot, I still need to work on that. And so a lot of times I'll try to do that during Lent and give up, whatever it is that's keeping me from that strong relationship with God. Also, the final pillar is almsgiving. And with almsgiving, that is, it can be giving of money. So maybe you donate more to the church, or you find other causes that are good to donate to. Maybe you donate your time or your talent. And so, maybe you find some, it can be church related or not church related, but find some places that need extra help and you give of yourself for that. And that will also help you grow in your faith. So those are ways that you personally can grow in your Catholic faith during Lent. There are also ways that you can, use your home as a reminder. You can prepare your home and also teach your children about the Catholic faith and what Lent means. And those kind of together tie in at my house, especially since we homeschool. But I have a prayer table in our family room. It's kind of off in the corner. And I try to change that liturgically through the year. And that is a great way for my kids to just kind of, they just see it. Sometimes they'll comment on it. Sometimes it's just, the decoration in the room. But they do notice that, when I change the colors or when I change the items on it. And so during Lent, I make it very simple. I have a purple table runner that I put on top. And then I simply have a framed 8x10 picture of ashes with a little saying about remembering that, from dust to dust. And then I have a simple grapevine wreath to kind of, be representative of the crown of thorns. And I have a table crucifix in the middle of that. And that is our table in Lent. I go very bare with our decorations. We do not do any Easter decorations until usually around Holy Week, maybe around Holy Saturday is a good time to do that. And I'll take off the prayer table, the purple in the prayer table, and change that all to white and, put flowers and statues and all the great happy decorations that I have. And so preparing your home is one way to kind of keep that focus during Lent. And so then, like I mentioned, my kids do see that. And so that's another way that I can help them in their Catholic faith during Lent. Along with that, I can also, especially when your kids are young, you can do things like teaching them how to do good deeds as kind of a way to teach them into what sacrifice means. Obviously, like my 3-year-old is not really going to understand what a sacrifice is as much as my, teenagers will. But I can certainly talk to him about doing good deeds. A lot of families will do like a good deed jar where they'll put some beans or just, something like that into a jar. And then, maybe on Easter they change to jelly beans for that sacrifice. We also in the past have done, when instead of doing the grapevine wreath, we have done a salt dough wreath, and the kids put toothpicks in them, in the wreath while it was drying. And then anytime I caught them doing a good deed, they would pull out one of the toothpicks that represented one of the thorns in the crown of thorns. And so that would be another way for them to visually see the good that they're doing. And so that is a really good way to teach children about sacrifice. Another way to help them with the pillar of prayer is with doing more family prayer time. During this Lent, we are going to be doing more rosaries. And so we usually do a decade of the rosary each day, but for Lent this year, I've decided that we're going to do a full rosary on Fridays. Now, if you already do a full rosary, maybe you do that every day of the week instead of, if you just do one day. But I know that for my family, doing it every day would be a little too much probably, but just doing it that one day is going to make enough of a difference. You don't have to go huge. You can do very minor things as long as you're making a point to, recognize that your journey is not going to look like everyone else's journey. So, if you see on Instagram or other social media about all these great things that people are doing and you think, well, I can't do that, I guess I just shouldn't bother. Any little bit you do is good. So, we don't do huge things. We do little things, but those little things add up. And so, maybe you do a family rosary, or maybe you do some extra family prayer time. Another great way to add in some of that prayer time or to teach kids about the different things during Lent. I mentioned that, a lot of times your church might have additional things during Lent. One of those things my church does are Stations of the Cross every Friday evening after their Friday Mass. And so that's something you could do as a family. You could go to the Stations of the Cross. Usually it's not very long, and it's a lot of up and down with kneeling and the standing. And so hopefully, the kids will not get too bored with it and will be able to, do some of it. There are CDs and things like that you could do at home with Stations of the Cross. You certainly, don't have to go to a church program to do that. That's something you could also do at home if you don't think your kids can handle the church service. And then also, if your kids have received their first reconciliation already, then Lent is a wonderful time to do confession for yourself also. I didn't mention that earlier, but that is also a good time for you to go to confession as well, and certainly to bring your children to, confession during any time during Lent. Holy Week is also a really nice time. It's usually pretty busy at our church, but there have been times where we just couldn't get it in before Good Friday, and so we were sitting there with 30 other people that were getting the confession in at the last minute. But certainly confession is a really great way to grow closer in your faith, stronger in your faith during Lent. So many ways that you can grow stronger in your Catholic faith during Lent. I hope those give you a few ways, and I hope that it gives you a chance to see that it doesn't have to be something huge. Any little difference that you make, any step you take towards growing in your faith is the right step. So thank you for watching. Have a wonderful Lent and a happy Easter. Happy homeschooling.